We'll start this hour off with the size of Bryce Young. His official measurements came back, and they were virtually identical to Kyler Murray. Now, if you can recall, when Kyler Murray got drafted, he did go number 1 overall. And he does have one of the highest paying guaranteed contracts in the National Football League since being in the league. So some would say the Kyler Murray experiment has been working. Now, the other side, the detractors would say they would make fun of the fact that they were putting Kyler Murray, memes of Kyler Murray on a chair so that he could be as tall as the commissioner when he got drafted. That he has not held up physically long enough to maybe complete the season at the caliber and the level that he's capable of completing it at. Does Kyler Murray's, I guess, insufficiencies with his size plex, which, by the way, TJ is taking, if we didn't mention this, I should have mentioned it. TJ is at the Combine in Indianapolis, so he's off for today. It's just me and Stretch pulling the weight today. But how much does Kyler Murray's career so far reflect on what and how the league will view Bryce Young?
Well, when Kyler Murray is most effective, he's out of the pocket. That's just the truth of the matter. And I really believe that, these quarterbacks that are coming into the league, these new generation quarterbacks, 5'10" and under, it presents a problem. And a lot of people, maybe not the GMs, they don't want to be honest about it, but, you look at the Kyler Murray, you look at Baker Mayfield or Johnny Manziel or whoever those guys may be, 5'10", 5'11", they just can't see over the line of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. And you begin to see defenses really try to keep these guys performing a cup around the pocket to keep those guys in a pocket, because when they get out, that's where they're most dangerous. And I don't know the stat, but I can almost guarantee you that in the last 4 seasons, Kyler Murray probably has the most balls batted down in the line of scrimmage. You're talking about guys being 5'9", hitting their own offensive lineman in the back of the helmet because they're 6'6" and 6'7". And when these defensive linemen are getting off of the ground and they're already 6'5", 6'6", their wingspan is reaching up to 10, 11 feet tall in the air. And I believe that is presenting the problem for these smaller quarterbacks, throwing the football from the pocket. And I just see Bryce Young as being less mobile Kyler Murray. So that's why I believe he will struggle more throwing the football in the pocket, because he is not as dynamic as Kyler Murray is when he gets outside of the pocket. It's just one of those things where these quarterbacks now coming into the league with this new RPO style system, that they can hide these quarterbacks, in the run game and in the pass game with their height. But when those guys have to drop back and throw the football out of the pocket, it's going to present some problems. And this is one of the main reasons why you don't see Kyler Murray under center.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I don't know that we see anybody under center too much anymore in the league. And I guess I would offer this. A blind man learns how to smell and hear so much better. A person that's deaf learns how to see and smell and taste better. A person that has no feet learns how to use their hands the same way that they would use their feet. I mean, there's numerous examples of whatever it is that you have to adapt and adjust to that your body wasn't given, that it happens. I believe that Bryce Young has already shown that he can adapt to not being a tall, bigger in stature quarterback. I also believe that you're right about the RPO. It will be super important. It will be super vital for whatever team he goes to be able to execute a running game so that an RPO is respected. He isn't as dynamic a runner as a Kyler Murray, but what he is a more prolific passer, and he is a better, to me, I think he's a better field general than Kyler Murray. I think he's very accurate with the way he handles the ball and delivers the ball. I think he sees the windows of opportunity much better than most quarterbacks, maybe any quarterback in this year's draft. And if anything, he's used to playing behind big offensive linemen and playing against big defensive linemen because he's been in the SEC the entire time. I don't look at Bryce Young and his size. It should not be a deterrent from looking at him as the top guy at the quarterback position, because I think his body of work does way more to develop the conversation, Plex.
So you're saying his body of work is moving forward in the NFL. He will be a better passer than Kyler Murray.
It depends on what team he goes to. I think,
right. So out of the first two picks out of Chicago and the Houston Texans, what offense do you think fits his style the best?
Neither.
Right. So it doesn't matter where he ends up at. If he ends up in Chicago, it's going to be over before it started. And I believe he will end up in the Houston Texans because he can be the start of be the cornerstone of kind of,
the rebuild.
Rebuilding that organization and that team, which they desperately need. But he's going to have to go in and be a great player if he wants to be a franchise quarterback to rebuild a franchise. We had Tim Couch on a few weeks ago on the what was it? Moments with the Legend.
Yep.
Legendary Moments, and he talked about going into Cleveland and being the first pick and being that guy and really trying to revitalize the organization, and it's not easy. And is Bryce Young that kind of player going in? I don't believe that he is, but we will find out very soon.
Yeah, I'm not high on that. I think that that's a big task. That's a tremendously large task.
But that's why you're drafting him.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. He does show the traits and the DNA of the type of player that you can build your team around. And for what it's worth, the division that the Texans are in is not a crazy division to be in as well. That should be stated. It's not like he's in the AFC West and he has to prove himself in a juggernaut division. I mean, the Houston Texans are not in a horrible scenario that way. So I mean, who would
They're
we
still
say?
the worst team in the division moving forward.
But who would we say in the division? Who? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, how do they? I mean, give them a year, and they could get back in the running of what they're doing in their division. I mean, I just don't
maybe
think, right. I don't think that it's as bad as it could be. I really don't. So, looking at the South, I mean, what you got? Jacksonville.
I think they're on the upward incline. Jacksonville.
I mean, that's about it, right? I mean, them
in Tennessee.
The Colts are in flux, and Tennessee is in flux. I mean, think about it. Tennessee is not in the greatest of positions right now either.
They are not.
They have questions surrounding their quarterback, which they've announced Tannehill still on the roster and still going to be a part of this team. Willis was not the type of quarterback that you would say gave you the confidence that he's going to move them further into the future. And Derrick Henry is now starting to battle injuries, and quite frankly,
you just cut your tackle Lehan.
You just cut Lewan, and you still don't have a receiver that is a number one receiver.
And you let both of those guys go.
You let them go. So if I'm the Houston Texans and I get Bryce Young, I'm in a race against time to get a number one receiver in play and to build our team up to protect Bryce Young so that he can get out there and do what he does best. Good luck to you, Bryce Young. It does seem like that's a tall task, but you know what? We'll see how that all plays out.